this is the Peaceful Revolutionary, Sylvain Rochon speaking. How are you doing? As promised, I am doing another report of the Keshe Technologies stuff. Primarily what I was looking for, like I mentioned last time I did a Keshe Technology video, is another electric bill result from the QEG guys in Sweden that I've been following and kind of analyzing what they were doing, the measurements they've been taking. They're still very diligent. They're still running strong. And last month, they reported, and I checked it out, they reported from their electric bill a 21% reduction of the kilowatts compared to what it should have been consumed using their setup and all the equipment that they had. So that's significant. 21% is pretty big, and typically you would be, you're seeing a reduction, not an increase, I guess, of looking at the outside, because the electricity company generally they like to overcharge, not undercharge. So that was interesting, and so I wanted to see if there was any other circumstances, because this is Sweden. I don't know their setup with the house and the box and how it works with the electric company at all. I'm in Canada here, so I don't know. So, but what would be definite is that this setup that keeps on their circuit, that is still on their circuit, should increase in energy savings if this actually has some kind of effect. And then they had an electricity bill check again this month for the month of March, and they were observing a 37% reduction compared to what meaning that the measurement of kilowatts outside of the meter was 37% lower than what it should have been with the loads they had inside with the heaters, the fans, and all this stuff, calculated using their kilowatt meters and things like that. So that's almost twice the difference at the previous one. So that piques my curiosity for sure. They did change a few, like they keep tweaking at the setup, which bothers me, because if you want to be very rigorous, what you do is that you keep the same setup you had at that 21% variant, and then you let it run exactly the same for another 30 days, another month. And then you look at it. If you tinker with things, it can falsify your results. However, what they did, like they just kind of played with the loads a bit. They added more load for longer periods of time, things like that. They didn't really do anything significant, so which is why it's like I tend to believe that the measurements here is actually not because of the tweaking they've done, but the actual something as far as that plays around with the electricity usage. So that's really something. That's valuable data, scientific data, that we can kind of keep observing, and we'll see if the trend continues. And you guys have been great, actually, on the comments. I've been receiving quite a few links and ideas and experiments also on not only on the energy side, but on the health and plants, and about GANs. We've had a few discussions. Obviously, I keep my discussions on the scientific and rational end of the spectrum, because that's how I'm built. Built on rationality and what is known, and then we build on what's known into the unknown. That's what science is, right? And there's been a couple of links, and I'm posting them down below. A link about it's a group of people that kind of pool their resources and experiments into a single site. And I was checking some of the experiments there because, of course, I'm trying to see if other people have been seeing the same kind of results as the QEG guys in Sweden, doing roughly the same things. Of course, they don't have the same setup, maybe not the same rigorousness, but they've been seeing, like on the electricity, some of them, they mentioned electricity bill reduction compared to what they measured. Some of them are a little bit methodical. I can't do that kind of experimentation myself, so I depending on you guys to feed me with information like this, which is really awesome, because we haven't received our devices yet. And as I commented several times on people complaining, oh, you should build your own device. Well, yeah, but Mr. Keshe explicitly says if you build a device and you don't believe that it's going to work, it won't work for you. So it's like, I'm too rational to actually make that happen. So, I have somebody else that is more of a believer that is supposed to receive the devices, and he's going to be doing the testing with the actual devices that were built by the Keshe Foundation in Canada. And then we'd be able to produce our own set of results directly with people I know and trust, and obviously that's going to be more powerful for me. So all I'm doing here is laying it out for you guys. So the QEG information, as well as some of the information experiments from that other website, have been kind of interesting. I can't explain it using normal science, which is also an interesting thing, which is why we're going into something that is maybe a little bit unknown, or maybe I don't understand properly myself, and others may. But I'm going to keep an eye on this, because this is interesting stuff. This is new grounds, at least at this point in time, based on the information I have available to me. I would love to do more research for myself. Now, a little parenthesis I'd like to do, and I've mentioned this several times. I do not encourage, and I think the Keshe Foundation itself, and Mr. Keshe, I would stay away from them, basically, in a nutshell. Because what I've heard on some other parts, as far as how they're handling money from our end as well, we still have no news about any device. We were supposed to receive something at least in December based on latest delay information. Now we've had no news since December, early December, about where's our device, and I've gotten information from some people that have contacted people at the Keshe Foundation and how it works there, and very suspicious, very weird. People kind of spending for money for literally nothing, for things that people can get for free super easily. That's fraudulent behavior from the foundation itself. Doesn't mean the science is bad, because you guys are not part of the organization, at least I don't think so. And you're recording some interesting results that are worth looking into. And that's good. That's us as revolutionaries working together. That's awesome. But I wouldn't touch the foundation with any of my money with a 10-foot pole. It's mismanaged. I don't think it's very honest. I think it's fraudulent, ergo criminal, the way they're working with people and communicating with people, especially on anything relative to money, which smells super bad to me. Thankfully, the information is out there, and we're seeing some results, so we don't need the Keshe Foundation at all. I want to stay away from it completely, and I would advise people to do the same, unless I'm completely wrong. I could be. Who knows? Any case, let's keep a look on this energy thing, because it's worth it. It's worth looking into. I'm gonna follow the QEG guys again and some more people for next month and see if there's other changes and whatnot. And by the way, again, I don't believe anything Mr. Keshe is saying about anything, any participation in Fukushima, any participation in that his technology has had in with the Russian Navy or anybody. I don't believe anything he says. Honestly, this guy's a salesman. I have no idea. I'm gonna base myself in I could say that I have some of my inventions used in Fukushima, for example, for cleanup, and complain about the media never mentioning it, or TEPCO never mentioning it. Nobody would know. It's easy to do that. So let's base ourselves on fact, not whatever somebody just says offhand. Nobody can verify, especially if he's running his business the way he is. Anyhow, I'm closing that parentheses. Let's look at the data and looks at the science and how it could benefit people. That's the most important thing, right? Another experiment that was really nice that comes from one of you guys, and I didn't really check the name before before recording, but it's a really nice guy, I think. Anyway, or I'm not sure if he was sarcastic communicating in the comments, but he was doing some fairly interesting experiments using the GANS itself, which I know the composition of the thing chemically, according to hundreds a 100 year of chemistry in teaching. Uh, in my case, teaching, not 100 years, but a small subset of that. But this reaction has been done for 100 years, starting with Volta and anyway, that's a galvanic battery chemistry, oxidoreduction. Anyhow, and so GANS, CO2 GANS. Anyway, he put that he created his CO2 GANS according to Keshe's methodology, and in a bottle, plastic, I think, I'm not sure. Anyway, and put it in contact, put the bottle in contact with a plant, and had an untouched plant. And he told me that the plant that was in contact with the bottle containing the GANS inside, so no direct contact with the liquid, looked a lot better after a while. I don't know the specifics of his experiment. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is I actually wrote quite a bit in answer to that, and I thought it was great, but I was giving him instructions as to how improve his experimental method, because one of the issues with a one-on-one comparison like this, when you're doing like a double blind, which I've been insisting into, is that as an experimenter, you want to remove as many variables as possible and isolate the variable that is of interest. In this case, would be that CO2 GANS filled bottle. And to make sure that this is the reason why that plant looks better after X number of days versus the other one that doesn't. Because plants are living beings, they are affected by a multitude of things, including bacteria and their own version of viruses, which we call phages for plants. And so, the plant that didn't have the GANS may have been infected, made unrelated with the fact that one had the GANS and one the one that didn't. So yeah, you're trying your best to actually isolate the thing that you're interested in, but other variables out of your control can impact on your experiment. So how do you bypass that? This is what I wrote to him. You actually need more plants, basically, as many as you can, but since you're in your home, you don't want that many, but you want a bunch of samples, especially in these cases, as many as possible, just to make sure that if there is a change, it's going to be consistent over an average. So like I recommended 10 plants for connected with CO2 GANS and 10 plants that are not, and both basically from the same stock, so same seed stock, for example, whatnot. And you put these plants into into individual potters. I don't know how you call these things, these containers, for where you plant, seeds and stuff, to make sure that they are they will individually be affected by different things that you don't have any control over, but all your plants essentially are equal in that respect. Now, what you do then is that you have your setup, you have your plants that are with no GANS, and you have 10 plants with GANS bottles, individual pots, and you run your experiment. You let it grow. You give them exactly the same food, the same water, same water, same sun, same air, everything equal, and run that. And after that's done, you look at your normal set of plants, and you assign some kind. You try to get a standard deviation, essentially mathematically, to see what's odd and what's normal for the regular set of plants. And because this is qualitative evaluation, like is the plant healthier or less, that kind of thing, you have to assign numbers to do the math. But essentially, you're trying to get a an average set of values. So 0 would probably be like the normal health of a plant that you think. So you do an average of healthiness. So the plant that seems to be an average of the bunch, and you call that 0. And then if it's healthier, then you get, like, you say 1, 2, 3. You give it a scale. You arbitrarily give it a scale. And if it's the plants that are worse, you give them 1, 2, 3. Right? So you give them that kind of a scale as best you can, because you just give it some math. And then you calculate the standard deviation, which involves the mean of these numbers. And I'm posting a link to a great guide to be able to calculate that. And here's the actual, like, in front of my face right now, how you do it. I'm going to leave it there for a while so people can read. So you go through the mathematical steps. Once you have your numbers between 1 and, I don't know, it could be between -5 to 5 as far as healthiness. And this is all on your sample. And then you use the exact same measurement as far as 0, 1, 2, 3, what that looks like. But you transport that to your GANs plants, those that have the GANs involved. So 0 should look like a 0, a 1 should look like a 1, and that kind of thing. And you assign numbers to those plants as well. Okay? And then that's going to, all that data gives you a nice picture. Now you take the calculated standard deviation of the normal plants with no GANs. That should give you, I don't know, like a plus-minus value, because that's what it is. It's like a plus-minus value. And that's the range of error as far as what is normal, I guess, of a change from the 0, because each plant, they came from the same seed in the normal sample, so they should in essence be the same health. But those variables I mentioned, they change the health of the plants possibly, right? So the standard deviation, if all the plants, let's say you have 10 plants and they are like almost identical, so the deviation is going to be really, really small. It means that there's not a lot of variables that change the health of the plant. That's good. So you take that standard deviation and on the normal plants, and you apply it to the GANs plants, and that's going to be the expected range of health variation on the other plants too. It should be anyway. So if you got a very big results, for example, you got a lot healthier plants with the GANs ones, so you're gonna have like 1s, 2s, 3s, a lot more. Well, those values off of 0 will be beyond the standard deviation. So that means it's a significant difference of it. If you're within that range still, and so within the standard deviation with the GANs, it means that the GANs didn't do any result. Like you may have a plant, for example, and the reason why we do this is you may have one plant out of the 10 for some reason, it's like super strong, like it's 3 inches higher than anywhere else. Well, if it's beyond the standard deviation, but he's the only one that's beyond the standard deviation, it means that this is an oddball. It's not because of the GANs, because the GANs was applied to 10. That's the only guy that did something super different. So we eliminate that one because it's not because of the GANs. It's something unique to that particular plant. Something happens. Your wife passed by and drops her yogurt in it. Who knows? We don't know. But that eliminates. But if on average, your plants are healthier by at least a standard deviation that you measured, that means you have significant results. That means actually more than minimal significant result to say, hey, GANs had an effect on these plants. And you have 10. So you know that the super strong, super weak, it can be eliminated because of various effects. But you can really say, hey, this is a non-negligible increase or decrease in health because of that single element that you apply to all the plants compared to your sample that don't have the GANs for themselves. I'm not sure if I'm making myself any clear. But you can always ask me questions on how to set up experiments, and if you guys want, I can teach you how to set up experiments that would of different types, if you like, or in general, so that you guys can do your own experiments. A lot of you and a lot of us don't really trust a lot of the reports out there because they're funded by private companies and whatnot. Well, we can do our own experimentation. Doing science is not that difficult. What's difficult is writing the papers and get it recognized in the community. Yeah, that's one thing. But we're not doctors. And we're not scientists that want to be published. That's not our profession, but we do want to have good results that we can rely on. And that involves a methodology, a little bit of math to really be able to validate and eliminate some results that we can't trust, for example, and things like that. We can do that ourselves, and we can share those results to everybody. And that would be, I think, our goal as a group, as humanity group, in getting somewhere interesting with new sciences, new ideas, and new technologies. So I'm going to finish the video here. I think that's enough science for now, and enough talk about Mr. Keshe. I'm going to be waiting for more results and more comments and more experimentation and from all you guys, so I can bake that into perhaps another video next month when I get more information from either my friends or some of you guys, and also obviously the QEG guys over in Sweden, see how it continues to change. Okay, the actual energy. All right, so that's going to be it. Let's continue the revolution. Keep it peaceful. Enjoy yourselves, and have a great weekend. Ciao for now.